All right, we're going to kick things off with a question that sounds, well, it sounds completely absurd at first. It's about something that's so fundamental to our world that we pretty much never stop to think about it, let alone question it. So here it is. Is money a useful concept? I mean, seriously, just let that sink in for a second. It kind of feels like asking if air is useful for breathing, right? Our whole society, everything we do is basically built on the answer being a big, obvious yes. And look, I get it. Your first reaction is probably to think this is a ridiculous question. Mine was too. Of course it's useful. We spend our lives working for it. We stress about it. We use it to measure success. It seems completely bonkers to even ask. But stick with me here, because digging into this question actually reveals something really fundamental about how our world is put together. So let's start there, by just admitting how totally and completely money frames our lives. It's not just some small part of our world. In a lot of ways, it is our world. Just think about it for a minute. What is politics? It's pretty much a giant argument about how money gets collected and how it gets spent. Geopolitics? A lot of that comes down to whose currency is on top. We've created an entire field, economics, that's basically the science of money. The whole point of a business, we're told, is to make money. And what do we call basic survival? Making a living, which just means earning money. It is absolutely everywhere. Okay, but here's where we start to pull at the thread. What if this concept, this thing we've built our entire reality on, is actually deeply and fundamentally flawed? Let's peel back some of those layers and look at the problems that are really hiding in plain sight. So if you ever took an Econ 101 class, you definitely learned this. This is the textbook definition of money. It's very neat, very clean. It makes money sound like this simple, neutral little tool, right? It's just a way to trade things, a way to count things, and a way to save up. But that is not the whole story, not even close. So on the one hand, you have that neat, passive textbook definition. But what does money actually do in our society, day to day? Well, it's not passive at all. It's an active force. It's used to control behavior. It's used to enforce scarcity. It's a tool to influence politics and to accumulate vast wealth. And these aren't bugs in the system. They're features. This is what it's designed to do. And that really gets to the core of it. We talk about money as if it's just this helpful thing that makes life easier, but in reality, it's a powerful system for directing what people do. It tells us what's valuable, what's worth our time, and ultimately, who gets access to the things we all need to live. And that brings us to money's biggest, most glaring contradiction. You see, today, almost all money is just an abstract idea. It's just numbers in a database, ones and zeros on a server somewhere. And yet, and this is the crazy part, we have decided to make this abstract, infinitely reproducible thing scarce. We do it on purpose. So the key thing to realize here is that scarcity isn't a natural part of money, not like it is for gold or oil. It's a choice. It's a design feature. And that one design choice has massive, massive consequences for every single one of us. Okay, so if the whole concept of money is built on this weird contradiction, what are we missing? What's the real story? This is where we get to the big aha moment. We have to shift our focus away from the tool, money, and onto the basic human action it's supposed to be helping with in the first place. So let's just ask it straight up. If money isn't the real foundation, then what is? What is the actual bedrock that human societies are built on? It's exchange. That's it. That's the whole thing. Deep down, human society is just a web of exchanges. We exchange goods, we exchange services, we exchange skills, knowledge, time, care. Money is just one particular piece of technology we invented to help us manage all that exchange. You know, we've gotten so obsessed with the tool that we've totally forgotten the job it's supposed to be doing. And this difference is absolutely critical. Exchange, that's the real action. That's the foundation of everything. Money, that's just a method we built on top of the foundation. And by focusing so much on the method, arguing about gold coins or state currency or bank credit, we've completely lost sight of the foundation itself. And that's where all the problems start. So once you see that distinction, it opens up this incredible question. If money is just one way to organize exchange, what other ways are there? And this isn't some sci-fi fantasy. Systems like this actually exist right now. So let's take a look at something called mutual credit. Picture a small community. A baker gives a loaf of bread to a mechanic. In a shared community ledger, the baker's account just goes up by, say, 5 credits, and the mechanic's goes down by 5. A few days later, the mechanic fixes a farmer's tractor, and her account goes back up. The mind-blowing part, the total number of credits in the entire system is always zero. It perfectly balances. No money is ever created, there's no fixed supply, and there's no interest. It's simply a record-keeping system to track our contributions to each other. And what happens when you design a system around exchange instead of money? Well, a lot of the problems we talked about earlier just disappear. That artificial scarcity, gone. Inflation because someone printed more money, not possible. That constant pressure for economic growth just to pay off interest and debt, that's gone too. Instead, you can actually focus on what people really need and what we actually have the capacity to produce. And this table really sums up the deep difference here. Money-based systems are built on competition for a resource we've made artificially scarce. This naturally leads to centralized control. But these other systems can be built on cooperation, where the only limit on what we can do is our actual, real-world capacity to provide goods and services to each other, not a lack of some abstract token. It's a huge shift from a mindset of scarcity to a mindset of possibility. So let's circle all the way back to where we began. We've taken this question that sounded ridiculous, we've taken it apart piece by piece, and now we can put it back together with a much, much deeper understanding. So, is money a useful concept? The answer is yes, but yes, of course, in many ways it has been. It's the tool that allowed us to coordinate on a massive scale and build the complex world we have today. But it is also a deeply flawed tool. It hides what's really happening, exchange. It enforces a scarcity that doesn't need to exist. And it seriously distorts our priorities as a society. And if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's this, right here. The act of exchange between people is fundamental. Money is just one piece of technology we're using to organize it. And we really have to start asking ourselves if, here in the 21st century, it's still the best technology for the job. And that leaves us with a new question, a much more interesting, much more powerful question. It's not about how can we get rid of money, it's about changing our thinking. Instead of always asking, how can we get more money? What if we started asking, what kind of exchange system would actually allow us to live better, to take care of each other and the planet? Now that is a question really worth thinking about.